Governor Tim Pawlenty right now, former governor of Minnesota. Governor Pawlenty, thanks for joining us again this morning. And, so much to talk to you about. I just have to get, though, first your personal reaction. I admire you for keeping your commitment to come on the program this morning. This is kind of the second time around you've been runner-up in these vice presidential stakes. I know you were called by Governor Romney on Monday, but it's got to hurt a little bit, huh?
I'm excited for the ticket. I'm excited for Governor Romney and Congressman Ryan. I didn't support Governor Romney because I expected to be vice president, so I'm not disappointed. I didn't get something I didn't expect, but it's a great ticket. It's a terrific pick by Governor Romney, and Congressman Ryan, as you've already seen, is bringing energy to the ticket, and he's got a clear, specific vision, an adult approach to solving the nation's problems, and you don't see that from the president and his team. Any
comfort to know that both the president and his senior advisor, David Axelrod, thought you would be the pick?
Well, I told David off air, I said I was reminded of the old phrase, get off my side, because I don't think that helped. But but it was a nice set of comments that he made.
Let's talk about what else we brought up in the previous interview. You've heard the case against Paul Ryan. They're saying now that having the Ryan budget front and center defines Mitt Romney, makes him own these plans by Paul Ryan on Medicare, on government spending, and they're going to end Medicare as we know. You heard the case David Axelrod made. Respond.
Well, I think the American people are smart, and I think the American people respect people who have real solutions to big problems. And so Congressman Ryan and Governor Romney have put together a plan that actually tackles the problem in specific, preserves Medicare and other programs for people who are already on the program, but begins to change it in needed and realistic ways for the next generation. And it's a big debate. It's an important debate. But unlike the president, they're actually willing to lead. They're actually willing to put meat on the bones and put specific proposals on the table. And I think the American public will respect and appreciate that. They know we've got a problem. They know the federal spending's out of control. For every dollar the federal government spends, George, they don't have 40 cents of it. People aren't stupid. They know that can't continue. It's reckless and irresponsible. So they look at Congressman Ryan and Governor Romney and say, hey, look, we know we need some changes. They're being fair about it because they're protecting the current enrollees and those who are close to the programs. But those who are coming up, they're going to preserve Medicare as an option, but give people some other choices,
but by some estimates, as you know, the Congressional
the
Budget Office says over the next 10 years, it could result in a decrease of about $6,000 for couples on Medicare.
Well, there's only one candidate in this race who's actually cut Medicare and signed such a thing into law, and that's President Obama. $700 billion cut over the next 10 years. And Medicare and these other programs are going to be not available at all if we don't have some reforms. And so I think Congressman Ryan, and by the way, on a bipartisan approach, the Senator Wyden and Congressman Ryan proposal is bipartisan. Democrats have supported that proposal as well. And the only person who hasn't put a specific entitlement reform proposal on the table that's a national leader is the president. And you'd think as the president of the United States and leader of our country, he'd have the courage and the wisdom and the intelligence to say, I know this is a big problem. I'm willing to put specifics on the table. But all he does is duck and bob and weave on it. That's not leadership. That's not the kind of thing the president should be providing. And we need somebody who's actually going to get the job done.
So even though Democrats are kind of licking their chops yesterday when they heard about the Paul Ryan choice, and polling right now at least shows that his plan does not have majority support, you don't think it's a vulnerability?
Well, I think the plan is, first of all, one that Congressman Ryan and Governor Romney can explain and present to the American people as a needed and responsible plan. So I don't think it is going to be a liability. And plus, it's leadership. And if people hear the plan and see that it's bipartisan, I think you'll see it gain more and more acceptance.
One of the other strains of criticism you're seeing crop up in these first hours is that this ticket is now lacking in national security experience. Also, they point out that Paul Ryan has only been a member of Congress, haven't had a member of Congress on the ticket since, I think, 1984. Geraldine Ferraro, limited national experience, and the experience he's had has all been inside the Beltway in Washington. No vulnerabilities there?
Well, Governor Romney and Congressman Ryan have a terrific national security and foreign policy team around them. These are very accomplished and smart individuals. Governor Romney has traveled extensively internationally and understands these issues very well. And I think the ticket, as presented before the country, is you're going to see a strong foreign policy and national security posture. But don't assume that Governor Romney doesn't have foreign policy and international experience. My goodness, he spent his entire career in global business arrangements, transactions, traveling and understanding different countries, cultures, geography, and the like. So he gets these issues very well, and probably better than the president.
Let's talk about these ad controversies this week. You heard David Axelrod talk about the controversial ad by Super PAC Ally with President Obama. Also brought up that ad from the Romney campaign suggesting that President Obama would gut the work requirements inside welfare reform. They called it a bold-faced lie. You heard David Axelrod right there. Others agreed, and here's the ad that the Obama campaign played in response.
Seen this? Mitt Romney claiming the president would end welfare's work requirements? The New York Times calls it blatantly false. The Washington Post says the Obama administration is not removing the bill's work requirements at all. In fact, Obama's getting states to move 20% more people from welfare to work.
They said they were just giving governors the flexibility to meet the work goals in other way under welfare, and it's exactly the kind of flexibility that you and other Republican governors were petitioning for.
Well, that's not true or accurate, George. Governors like me and other Republican governors wanted more flexibility generally, but none of us wanted to waive or dismantle the work requirement within the landmark welfare reform legislation of the 1990s. And it would be very easy for the president to clear up this controversy. If he's saying he's not, as part of his directive, going to rescind or undermine the work requirement, then just clarify that part of it.
That's exactly what they're saying. They're
it.
saying that instead that the plans will be approved only if it increases overall the number of people going to work.
Well, what they're saying is, look, we're going to take away the specific looking for work or work requirements by my order. And by the way, if down the road you happen to have some goals to increase employment overall, maybe that'll be good enough. If he's saying he's not going to undermine those specific work requirements, then rescind that part of his order and make that clear. And on this issue of ads back and forth, the President of the United States should have the basic decency, and his campaign leadership should have the basic decency to step forward in the wake of these ads accusing Mitt Romney of essentially being a co-conspirator and killing this gentleman's spouse, and say, you know what, that ad is out of bounds. And they refuse to even have that minimal
you just saw
level
David
of
Axelrod
decency
said he doesn't believe
discourse.
it.
It's very disappointing.
Well, you just saw David Axelrod say he doesn't believe that that's what that's what Mitt Romney did. He doesn't agree.
Well, the president himself has failed to disclaim that, and his other campaign officials have been asked repeatedly, do you think the ad is fair? Should they disclaim it? The White House has punted it back to the campaign. And when you're a leader, you got to step forward and take responsibility in key moments. The president himself should have the basic decency to say, you know what, that ad's out of bounds. It's not what I promised in 2008 when I said we're going to have a new day in American politics.
One of the hopes is that the pick of Paul Ryan this week is actually going to change the tone of this campaign and get it off the kind of issues we saw in those ads before he was picked, and much more on the substance of the plans of either side. You believe that's possible?
Well, I hope it's absolutely true. And you're the President of the United States, and you've got no accomplishments, and the ones you do have are unpopular, like a porky stimulus, like Obamacare, like relentless calls for tax increases, a foreign policy that was set based on the notion that we're going to have a reset with Russia that hasn't worked, the strain that he has in his relations with Israel, pulling out the rug from underneath the Czech Republic and Poland on missile defense. What is he going to run on? He's got a record, basically, of things that are unpopular, didn't work, an economy that's sputtering, high unemployment. So we'd like to see this get back to the issues and not have him just dangle shiny objects like 20-year-old tax returns or collateral issues like you've seen in these last couple of weeks. So we would welcome, especially with Governor Romney and Congressman Ryan having the advantage, a debate on the issues and the big challenges and the big solutions that these candidates are willing to put forward on behalf of our country.
You did bring up the tax returns. How many years of tax returns did you provide to the Romney campaign?
Well, I don't know the exact number, George, but there were several years, I believe.
Several years, so more than 2.
Well, we don't get into the details of the vetting process, but I gave him a bunch of tax returns. I don't remember the exact number of years.
Governor Pawlenty, thanks a lot for coming on this morning. Always good to have you on the program.
All right, George. Thank you very much.